Okay, before you start running Google Ads, you should question whether it's even financially viable to do that, right? So certain niches, certain industries are more favorable to running Google Ads than others, and there is a way of working this out. So this is the process that I go through. I'm just going to walk you through this. So I'm just going to minimize myself a bit, put myself down here. Um, so this is a Google Ads ROI tool, return on investment tool. So what this does is, if you input the data into it, it basically tells you whether Google Ads is a good viable thing to do, and what sort of return on investment you should expect. So I've taken an example here of so target keywords boiler repair, right? So this time of year, it's cold in the UK. There's lots of boilers that need repairing, right? Um, so I researched just two keywords here: boiler repair and emergency boiler repair. So this is for boiler technicians, plumbers, to go out and fix a boiler. Okay. Now these are the stats I got. Now you can get access to these stats in Google Ads. I'll drop a link to a demonstration video of how you do that. But just so you know, you go into Google Ads and you can basically search for keywords. So depending on what industry you're in, you'd put in whatever your thing is. So for boiler repair, basically the low cost per click. So this is cost per click, CPC cost per click. The low is £2.85. So this is in sterling. So if you're looking at dollars or whatever, just work out the conversion. So low would be 2.85, high would be £9. So that's what you'd be charged to get a click from Google Ads to your web page. Okay, so on the low end it'd be £2.85 more or less, and the high end 9. So average is £5.97. And just so you know, this average monthly search, that's basically saying that so this was across the whole of the UK. Boiler repair roughly has about 6,500 searches a month. Now this is very ballpark, but it gives you an indication. And again, Google Ads tells you the what that monthly search number is, right? So for boiler repair, more or less 6,500 monthly searches, cost per click, low end, high end, average. So I took another one, very similar, emergency boiler repair. You see the for every keyword, the low and the high changes. Because it's emergency, it's a slightly higher higher on the CPC, so the average is a bit higher as well. And but there are fewer monthly searches. Okay, so what I normally do when I'm working out whether to run Google Ads or not is I'll put in more than two keywords here. But depending on the search volume, if you have searches keywords that have a load of search volume, then you don't need to go crazy on this. But often I probably put in sort of 5 or 6 keywords. But just for sake of brevity, I've just put in 2 here. But you add more keywords down here. By the way, I'll leave a link to this ROI tool in the descriptions below, so you can find it there. Okay, so you put in your keywords here, and now this is sort of where the magic starts happening. So this average cost per click here, that's just basically an average of these two, right? So however many keywords you've got in here, that will be the average of all the averages, if you like. Now, monthly budget. Now, this is where it comes down to how much you want to spend. But let's just say for sake of argument, you put in £1,000 or dollars or whatever ad spend, right? So this is your ad spend. This isn't management fee if you're using an agency or whatever. This is just if you're running it yourself, you're going to put 1,000 in the pot to run the ads. So based on that, you put in 1,000, and each click costs you about £7.52. You get 133 clicks to your website or landing page. Okay, so you get 133 clicks. Following? Good. Okay, now let's go down to this section here. So if you get 133, basically, depending on how good your web page or landing page is at converting, right? So you get 133. If your web page only converts at 2%, well, you get 3 leads or 3 inquiries, right? And like web pages vary a lot in terms of how well they convert. So a poor converting web page or landing page converts at about 2%. But as you can see here, you can go all the way up to, well, the sky's the limit. I mean, 40% is high, but it's not impossible. So the quality of your landing page or your web page, depending on basically your web page, the how well that converts has a big impact, right? So here we start at the lowest conversion rate at 2%, and so from 133 you get 3 leads. Okay, so 3 leads, 3 inquiries. So that's 3 people from the 133 people that have come to your web page. 3, if the page converts at 2%, 3 have looked at it and thought, okay, I want to inquire. Okay, great. So let's just go through the logic of this, right? So 3 inquire. Now, close rate. So this is basically down to how well you, when those 3 people inquire, how well you do, how good a job you do of basically getting them booked in and getting them to turn into actual jobs, right? So I've just put sort of a ballpark 20% here, but these purple sort of boxes, you can edit yourself. So when you get access to the sheet, you can edit them yourself, and you can work through the different scenarios. So close rate, if for example you close at, I don't know, 50%, then that quickly turns into two leads, right? Two sales. If you, okay, let's just say for sake of argument, you close every inquiry you get in, well then you basically get 3 sales, right? From your 3 leads, you get 3 sales. So you see how it works. Now, obviously 100% is slightly unrealistic. So let's just go for 50%, and that gives you 2. Okay. More or less, because obviously 3. So now, so we have 2 sales. Okay. Now, next question is, how much is your average job worth? So a boiler repair, I've put £300 in here. I don't know if that is indicative of what a boiler repair is. Obviously, you could be using this tool to for solar installation or roofing jobs, or garden rooms, or whatever you want, right? And the price could vary from a couple £100 to 20 grand, right? Could be a private jet. it all depends, right? So here I've put in £300 as the average job value of a boiler repair. Okay, so that basically would mean that you would earn £450 from that. Okay, and then basically here, this profit minus operating cost is how much of the job you basically, if you're using materials, then there's usually some sort of materials that you use, which means that it's not all profit. You have, that could be materials used, it could be staff cost, it could be all those things. So from that £300, how much actually is profit for you? So I've put in 80%, which is pretty high, but that's completely up to you, to your business, right? So, and then that minuses it from here, okay? So your return on investment at the moment is, if you spend 1,000, you basically come away with £360, which sounds terrible, and it is terrible. So you basically, you're out of pocket based on this, which is okay, this is good. This is telling us what we need to know. So if your website converts at only 2% and you only close half the deals, and your average job value is £300, then you're only going to make 360 back, which is rubbish, right? So you want at least, we aim to get sort of 200-300% return on investment, which means for every pound in, you're getting 2 or 3 back, right? So obviously, to get up to that, let's say we want to be in the sort of 200% realm. So you're bringing in 2,400 from your 1,000 spend. Well, then your conversion rate needs to be at around 15%. Now, that's not a problem. A lot of the landing pages and websites that we build convert around that anyway. So, it's rare that we're converting this low. Usually it's easily in the 15-20% realm. So that's fine. Or if you say, okay, well, you know what? The average job value turns out to be more like, £500. Okay, so if it's 500 quid, then you see the ROI we hit 200 a lot quicker, right? So all we need is a 7% converting web page to get basically those 5 sales after our operating costs have been reduced. We're down to 2,000. So as you can see, 1,000 spent, 2,000 out, 200%. Great. And obviously, the more the job value goes up, the more profitable the thing is. But then often, you've got to consider, okay, well, what is this close rate? So if it's 700, let's just say for sake of argument, the job value is £1,000. Great stuff. So are you actually closing 50%? So 1 in 2 inquiries, are you actually turning that into a job? So, if the close rate is more like what I started out with, like 20%, then even though the job value is higher, the close rate is lower. So still you need, to get up to that sort of 200%, we need a 9 or 10% converting web page, which again isn't a problem, right? Another one is, what are your operating costs? So are you actually pocketing 80% of the value of the job? Or let's say a boiler repair, you have to spend quite a lot on replacement parts that mean it's more like you're only taking sort of 60% of the job. Again, then it sort of pushes up the ROI. You've got to have a higher converting web page to get the ROI. Okay, so you see how this works. It's a sort of finger in the air tool that we use to work out, is a niche, is an industry viable to run Google Ads. Now, we find that B2C industries are by far the best industries for running Google Ads. So home services businesses, home renovation, anything where there's a service at the end of it, right? So B2B tends to be a bit tricky. It's not impossible, but B2B tends to be a bit tricky because there's usually less volume and so forth. But B2C is awesome, where there's lots of search volume. Obviously, you don't know how much this average cost per click is going to be until you start running campaigns, right? Often we're surprised. We because these numbers are just what Google Ads gives us, but Google are very sort of opaque when it comes to sharing these numbers. So you only really find out when you run a campaign, and then you can see, okay, so this average cost per click for boiler repair, and again, these numbers were for the whole of the UK, so geography matters as well. the whole of the UK is including London, but cost per clicks are always cheaper outside the main cities, but then there's less search volume. But definitely, geography matters as well when it comes to cost per click. But then equally, you can charge more for jobs in high in densely populated areas, major cities, than you can outside of the cities. So there's swings and roundabouts. So yeah, this went on a bit, but hopefully you've got some value from it. I'll drop a link to this sheet in the description where you can get access to it, make a copy of it, and start playing around with it. And any questions, drop them in the comments. And hope you found this useful. All the best. Cheers.